So, as the Russian player, we certainly want to play defensively in the opening phases for sure. And, you know, the main goal here is to stem the German offensive, to slow them down as much as possible. So, certainly moving backwards is a way to do that, but we certainly don't want to move back too fast. So, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to take 34th Infantry Corps. I'm going to move him into the swamp. The reason for that is because that would give him a defensive bonus defending in a hex like that. He's also surrounded by swamps, so it would be hard to get a mechanized unit up here to cut sort of the zone of control paths. Although, to be honest, you could cut it by putting a unit here and here. But this is where we're going to put him. We're going to try to retreat these guys as best we can. Now, to leave enemy zone of control, it's going to cost 2 MPs. So it's going to cost us 3 to go to this hex right here, 2 for leaving zone of control, plus 1 for the clear hex. And then we're going to push them down here like this. 7th Mechanized Group, we're going to move into the swamp, which costs us 2. So 2 to leave zone of control, 2 to enter the swamp. That's going to, a total of 4. He can certainly do that. And I want to make sure that that the German player isn't going to be able to surround me. In fact, now that I say that out loud, this guy's going to go 3, 4. That way, we've got zones of control around this entire area, so that would prevent sort of a pincer movement to cut our guys off from each other or from supplies. 19th Army needs to be moved. Now, what's interesting here is I can move him, east or south or north. If I move him, if I happen to move him south or east, these units up here won't have an HQ close by to activate them. So I think I'm going to move him 1, 2, 3, 4. Is there anything worth moving in here? 23rd Mechanized. Again, we're trying to think of a strategy to slow the Germans down as much as possible. Having our mechanized unit this far back might not be useful for that strategy. So I think we're going to move them. So the reason why I'm able to do this is, again, 16th Army HQ is within 4 hexes of the activated HQ, and so is my 23rd Mechanized Army. So I think I can move him forward 1, 2, 3, 4. Where do I want to put him? Or do we keep him for a mobile reserve? Maybe we'll do that. Kind of going with a checkerboard defense here. And we'll move our 20th Army HQ back 1. Okay, that ends the activation for 20th Army HQ. And we go to our cup and we draw again. And we happen to draw 9th Army. Okay. So, this particular command sheet right here allows the activation of a German HQ on the map. Any German HQ, which is nice. And when you start the game, there's only one, and there he is. So we're going to have to move, or we're going to be able to move our infantry divisions forward a bit. And again, I kept these guys up here, or I put that command sheet in the cup in order to deal with these infantry units up here in the north. So let's see how far we can move them. 1, 2, 3. This guy can move 5 into this hex. And we'll put the HQ right behind. So we're going to be able to perform combat here, which again, we want to do as much as possible because we have that combat bonus at the beginning of the game as the Germans, and we want to make use of that. So we're attacking into a swamp, which means that the defender is going to get a 1 shift to the left bonus. We've got 8 to 3, which is 2 to 1. 1 shift to the left, that's 1.5 to 1. 2 shifts to the right gets us back up to a 3 to 1. And we're going to go ahead and roll. I don't know. A 3 to 1, it's not that great. The most we can get really is the defender retreat. The worst that would happen is nothing occurs, and we roll a 6, which is the best thing we could have rolled. A DR2, that means this unit has to retreat 2 hexes. And we get to advance. After combat, non-motorized units get to advance 1 hex, which is exactly what we've done. This HQ unit gets to sit here. HQ units have to be relocated when they're overrun, which means you enter the hex that the HQ is in with a combat unit, but an enemy zone of control does not cause that HQ to relocate at all. All right, so that covers that particular phase. We go back to our cup, and we are going to draw 13th Army. So 13th Army gets activated, and so does 21st Army, because that was in the command range of the activated HQ. So now we got to think about what we want to do. Again, the strategy here is retreat, 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 but delay, delay, delay while you're doing it. Certainly what we're going to do here is we're going to pull back this mechanized division into the woods. The reason for that is that it will offer a defensive bonus if it's attacked. What else? We want to break contact here. It's going to cost 3 and then 4, and we're going to move this HQ as well the same way. Is that a good idea? Again, I want a line of zone of control here, so that would prevent some sort of encirclement. An encircled unit, of course, has a better chance of being eliminated or taking a step loss. Now that we've dealt with those guys, we move down here into the south, and 1, 2, 3, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of these units can be activated because 21st Army is activated as well. So I'm thinking, let's set up a defensive line. We've got a nice string of woods down here. We've got this river we could potentially sit behind. Why not make use of that? We're going to spend all of our movement points and move this guy across the river. One, 2, 3. And again, I want to make sure I've got a line here that will prevent encirclements from occurring. We're all in the woods, and then here we're going to move 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, we should probably move our headquarters unit. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's about the best we can do. By keeping these units down here, it poses a threat to the German southern flank. And again, we have to worry about is the German immense pocket. If the Russian player can sneak a unit up in there, that's an auto win. So we cannot ignore what's down here and simply leave them to their own devices. All right, so that concludes that movement phase, and we go back to our cup, and we're going to draw the supply phase. I had to read up on the reinforcement rules. There's quite a few things that are going to happen here, so I'll try to keep this brief. First of all, we come down here for turn 1, and Timoshenko's reinforcements come on the map. So what happens is the command chip for Timoshenko that correlates with this HQ goes directly into the cup. So not only will these units be able to move right now onto the map, but they will also be activated again by pulling that chit before the end of the turn. So really, Timoshenko gets 2 activations this turn. So what I'm thinking is, let's go ahead and move these guys up here into the city. Now what's interesting, there's a stacking rule that says that no 2 tan Russian units can be in the same hex. You can only stack a tan unit with a red unit. 2 red units can stack in the same hex though. So we won't be able to stack these guys. Now of course an HQ unit does not count for stacking at all. But yeah, let's just put these guys here for simplicity. So we've moved into the city down here, and we've posed a threat now to the Minsk pocket. We've got units down here that could potentially start making their way forward. So that's something for the Germans to think about. Now, every single turn, the Soviets get a predefined number of reinforcement points. Here in turn 1, we get 3 reinforcement points. What that means is we can come up here to the Soviet reserve box and start pulling out combat units. Each combat unit costs 1 point. Doesn't matter the type, it just costs 1 point. HQ units cost 2 points to pull and put on the map. So I think what we're going to do is, I'm going to set my camera down. We're going to pull out our mechanized units. And we're also going to pull out an infantry division. And we're going to place these on the map. Now, the question is, where do we get to place them? Well, what's interesting is Soviet reinforcements such as these get to be placed next to an HQ or any number of HQs on the map, which is pretty powerful. I don't have to walk these guys in from the edge of the map and use strategic movement at all. I can just place these guys wherever I want, pretty much, wherever an HQ happens to be. And what I'm thinking is, well, we want, actually, let's think about this real quick. Let's place an infantry unit there. You know what, I think I will put these guys right here in the middle. The reason for this would be, one, by beefing myself up here, it's going to be harder to do an encirclement with all the zone of control that's extending around here. But the other reason is I've got now a mobile sort of reserve here that can strike out at the panzer divisions. Again, these panzer units have very poor defense values, and so I'm going to have to keep them stacked. I won't be able to spread them out as much as I want as the German player because I could risk counterattack by these other units. So I think I'm going to place my reinforcements there. Now, the German player gets reinforcements as well. So for turn 1, it's sort of scripted. They get elements of the 9th Army that come on the map. Now that I've knocked my Doom stack over here in the Minsk pocket. And they enter right here. And so I'm going to use strategic movement to move them to the front. Strategic movement means move them along a road, or if you move along a road, it only costs you 1/3 of a movement point to do it per hex. So I'm going to go 1, 2, let's see, they can move up to 15 hexes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm just going to move these guys as far forward as possible. And they end up right there. If you can see that, I moved them forward. Okay. Now, there's another group that comes on the map, and they're way up here, or way over here on the left. And these are elements of the 3rd Panzer Group. And again, I'm going to strat move these guys. 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. As far as I can go. And we moved them up here. So we've crossed that river. Okay. All right, now we finally get to talk about the Minsk pocket before my battery dies. The Minsk pocket. We've got German units wrapped up in this pocket as well as Russian units. And the Germans have the ability to withdraw units from the Minsk pocket in turns 1 through 3. But they do so at a risk. I'm sorry, turns 1 through 4. If I were to withdraw units from the Minsk pocket in the first 4 turns of the game, the Russian player has a chance to have units escape the pocket. After turn 4, all these units would automatically be eliminated. But given the new threat down here in the south, I think I'm going to go ahead and release some of these units up here in the Minsk pocket. And there's a table that we roll on to do this. So here we've got multiple columns, and we see we've got a 1 to 7 column, 8 to 12, 13 plus. And what these values correspond to are these values for each type of unit I release. So Infantry Division HQ and 9th Army Command Chit that could be immediately thrown into the cup. What I'm going to want to do is release an HQ and as many infantry divisions as possible. So that would be 1 HQ and 5 infantry divisions. But I could also get 9th Army Command Chit thrown into the cup so I could move them again in turn 1 and make use of this bonus. And I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to release 4 combat units and an HQ. And I'm going to strat move them as quickly south as possible. So we're going to move these guys 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5. And we're going to throw them there. You cannot use strategic movement and enter a hex that's an enemy zone of control. So there we will stop. And I don't want to forget, I spent a point to throw the 9th Army Command Chit back into the box, or back into our cup. Now, the thing I don't want to forget about is we have to roll on this table. Because we released a value of 7 here, number of units sort of on the board, we have to roll. And hopefully we don't roll a 1 or a 2. And we roll a, where is it? Oh, we roll a 4. So nothing happens, no Soviet units escape, and the risk was negated with that. So now we've got units to fend off Timoshenko down here in the south, which will sort of puts me in a more comfortable position now, having these units here. So that concludes the reinforcement phase, and we get to draw yet again from our cup. And we are going to draw air power. So the air powered chit, this one's really easy. We come down here to our Luftwaffe airfield, we look for a used Stuka unit, and we get to flip it to its unused side. So the only 2 chits that are now remaining in the cup is going to be Timoshenko's HQ and 9th Army, if I recall correctly. So it's a matter of who gets to go first. So we mix it up, pull one out of the cup. And it happens to be 9th Army. Okay, I don't think it really would have mattered either way. Something I forgot, those of you who are masters of this game, I've caught this. This PBO unit is also a Soviet reinforcement that goes on the map, and it goes into a VP hex. And where do we want to put it is the question. Why not? Let's put it here. This city is sort of on the front lines. Germans are going to have to take it. So that hex gains an additional 2 strength points. And the other thing I forgot was this. 1 elite division. So going back to the Soviet reinforcement phase, we spent our 3 points. We got our PBO unit now, and we get an elite division. Now the elite divisions are all in red, and they go into a cup, such as this. And you randomly draw one. And it is also placed like a normal reinforcement. So we draw an elite infantry division, and we are going to place him next to an HQ, which will be right. We're going to place him right here on top of this HQ. So really, I mean, if we look at this, the situation is not as dire as perhaps it was looking for the Russians a couple of phases ago. We just introduced a whole bunch of new units to the map, and now the Germans kind of wondering, well, man, you know, I thought everything was hunky-dory, but not anymore. All right, so going back to the 9th Army Command Chit that is now dictating the phase we have to take. We can activate any HQ on the map that we want. And what I'm thinking is, let's not worry about those guys in the south. They're not going anywhere. Let's come up here to the north and actually perform some useful combat. So what we're going to do is activate this HQ, which essentially activates all of these guys. I don't have to really sit down and figure that out. And we're going to move these infantry units forward. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we walk through this space that has an HQ, a Russian HQ, which means it has to be relocated. It has to move a minimum of 4 hexes away from this spot, and it has to move towards a friendly supply source. Its movement path is not affected by enemy zone of control. It could actually move through a hex that has an enemy unit in it. There is nothing in the rules that prevents them from doing so. I think the easiest thing to do is move him east 4 hexes, and that's what we're going to do. We'll move our HQ forward like this to make sure that these guys are in command range. I guess we'll just keep pushing forward. Again, I don't know if this is the best strategy or not, but it's what we're going to do. So we've moved our units east. I think that sort of fits the overall strategic goal of this operation. And we're going to attack the 24th Russian Corps, Infantry Corps here. And it's going to be 8-3, which is 2-1. A 2-column shift to the right for our first turn bonus, which we're going to lose here quite shortly. So 4-1, we roll, and we roll a 4. That is a DR2 result, and this unit retreats 2 hexes. And now we can advance after combat 1 hex, which I think will advance both units. The HQ can advance along with the infantry in this case. And now, finally, we are down to 1 command chit. There it is. It's Timoshenko. What is he going to do? So, can we come out here and smack these guys is the question. And I think the answer is no. Because we can't stack these units. All we can really hope for here is to set up a good defensive position and not be cut off from supply. So we're going to align ourselves behind the river and hope for the best. The main thing that these guys need to be careful about is being cut off from supply up here. So if after turn 4, this is no longer a supply source. So they could potentially be cut off from supply, although that's a big portion of the map. It would require quite a bit of units. But this concludes turn 1 for a victory denied, and it's been fun. Every opening phase is going to be a little different based upon this random chit pull mechanic, and every game is going to unfold a little bit differently as well. I'm looking forward to moving forward with this game and seeing where it goes. But certainly the Germans started off in a really sort of nice position, but very quickly the Russians were able to introduce quite a few units on the map, and now it doesn't look so inviting anymore. So we're really going to have to start putting some more effort and thought into what we're going to do in the next few turns.